Hello. Just going to wait for everyone to arrive if you want to make it live. Okay, maybe I'll just start chatting. I can't see if anyone's appeared, I don't think so yet. So I'll just start chatting a little bit. So yesterday we had the first part of this framework, which was acceptance, and we're looking at earth and water energies and how that is going to affect our thoughts and our feelings. We shared the letting go technique, which is really good for letting go of any kind of suppressed emotions, and it helps us deal with our kind of negative impulses in a healthier way, and that helps to kind of allow the feelings to wash away without them becoming integrated in our energy field. So we also did a wee journaling exercise, and I'd like to hear how you got on with that. So let me know, give me a wee comment with any little insights that you got from your journaling exercise, and how you got on with the affirmation as well, if you noticed any changes in yourself after repeating this affirmation to yourself. And today we're moving up into beliefs and how limiting beliefs affect us and how they kind of stop us from reaching our full potential and seeing our goals come true. So we're going to talk about how the beliefs also they determine the experience that you have. So there's also this famous quote, I think it was a Shakespeare quote, my dad also goes on about it quite a lot, and it goes, "There is no good or bad, only thinking makes it so." And that's similar to having what you expect to happen because it's part of your kind of your core belief systems, and these happen as we're growing up through childhood and beyond. Most of our beliefs are formed around the age of 7, and a lot of them stay around until you can recognise them if they're negatively affecting your life, if they have an impact on your decisions. They continue to do so. You go around thinking with your child brain, assessing the world and making decisions based on how you saw the world as a child, until you can notice and take hold of any negative beliefs that you think aren't serving you and are actually holding you back from your goals, and then consequently let them go. And it was actually something that Namunji mentioned yesterday. We call it positive reframing. So that's when we find a negative thought and then we turn it around to become its opposite, basically. And then we start affirming and seeing the world through that belief until it becomes the reality. So the exercise that we'll do is we're going to make our own affirmations, and I'll go over with you how to do that. I'm just going to chat a little bit first about the beliefs and the belief systems, and how we can get over any negative beliefs in order to change the way we see things and to start achieving your goals. So we talk about the 80-20 principle quite a lot. This comes up just basically everywhere. It's all over nature, and essentially how everything tends to work. It works under the 80-20 principle, and we call it the iceberg effect. When you have like a thought or a belief, you can decide, basically I'm going to go and do this. You know, if you want to go and be a fireman as a career, just a firefighter, random example, and that's your conscious decision. So that's being made with 20% of your mind, which is your conscious mind, and the 80% is your subconscious mind, and that is where all your kind of limiting beliefs are stored. So you can make any number of decisions to go and consciously do things, achieve things, and change things in your life, but it's the 80% of the subconscious, and if that's a limiting belief that's in your subconscious, the 80% is going to decide for you. You know, you don't have a choice in the matter. You're going to see lots of coincidental things coming up. Things will just keep going wrong. You'll have a streak of bad luck. And although that was your ultimate goal, if you have this subconscious belief that, oh, it's going to be dangerous, and your parents never wanted you to pursue that career because they told you it was dangerous, and maybe you had a family member who like died in a fire or something extreme like that, then that's going to have formed your belief systems. So you make the conscious decision to go and do this as a career, but you're going to sabotage yourself, and that's what we call self-sabotage, is when your underlying beliefs try to keep you safe and try to take you away from what you consciously decide to do. Hi Nilipur, nice to see you. So we're just talking about the 80-20 principle and how that affects our decisions in life. And the conscious mind is only 20% of the kind of overall mind, and 80% is subconscious. So if you have this underlying negative belief that this isn't going to be a good idea, then your conscious decision doesn't come into it, and it's going to be the subconscious mind that decides that you can't do this or be this or have this. So in terms of self-sabotage, we talk about having almost like an inner thermostat. So you have like a tolerance level for how much you believe that you can experience joy or happiness or success. And money as well is a big one. We can have a kind of internal thermostat on how much money we earn. And you might find that when something triggers that thermostat, your subconscious beliefs are going to sabotage you and bring you back into your comfort zones. So for example, if you've just had a promotion at work, you might go home and find out that your wife's left you. Or maybe something a bit less extreme, you might get like a really good business deal, or you've just signed like a great perfect deal with a client, and then the school phones you up and tells you that your kid has fallen and broken their arm. So you're going to have to come out of that meeting and then go down and go into the hospital. Or maybe you find out that you're pregnant, and then you're so happy because that's something you've wanted for a long time, and then you end up getting let go from your job. So it's always this keeping you within your comfort zones, and it feels like things... Hi Namanji. Thanks for joining. So we're talking about the inner thermostat. So it's when you get something might go really well, and then your kind of subconscious beliefs start to make a series of events happen, so that you're kind of staying inside your comfort zone, so you're no longer exceeding the previous levels of happiness or success or money, anything that's happened before, so it kind of keeps you in the same level as what you're used to. So when we talk about our belief systems, that relates to the fire element, and this is our third chakra. So it's also relating to the ego in the yogic philosophy. So it relates to your personal identity, and the beliefs basically form stories that you see in your life, and it kind of creates this character that you are, until you realise that they are only beliefs and they're only stories, and they aren't actually attached to your identity. And this is how we get over that kind of subconscious self-sabotage. So having your kind of inner thermostat going off like a little alarm saying something really good has happened. You're not used to experiencing this level of happiness, so it takes you back down. So in order to stop that from happening, that's when you have to integrate what your conscious thoughts are and what your subconscious beliefs are deep down as well. So yeah, I'll just give you a wee minute to catch up and see if you want to leave any comments at all. So it's all about belief systems, and basically how we get the 80% working in line with the 20%. And also in terms of, we're talking about our fire element and our ego and our identity. The ego loves logical and technical details, so it will convince you that there's a logical reason for you not going for the promotion at work, for example. And it always has this way of kind of reasoning out with your logical mind to kind of get it in line with that. But we're looking to kind of resonate more with our inner feelings. So we find these little subconscious beliefs when they keep showing up. You might see a theme repeating in your life. We see these subconscious beliefs, and that's when we tap into them and we reframe them so that our head and our heart are basically aligned, so that our ego doesn't try to control our lives. Because when we start making the conscious decisions and changing our beliefs, that's when we start deliberately living our lives and fulfilling our purpose. So the identity is where the stories come from. We talk about your kind of beliefs being something really elaborate. Might be that you'll always get maybe like 3 weeks into a relationship, and then this one thing will happen, and it'll mean that you have to leave, or he has to leave, and you'll just see this same pattern repeating and repeating and repeating, and you'll notice you'll have a little alarm bell go off when you start to see this same behaviour coming back. And that is when you start to look into what this seemingly means. So what the situation is, what that's reflecting back to you, and what it means in terms of your identity. So what story is it that's behind this situation that's happening, and what is the limiting belief that's creating that story, that's stopping you from experiencing the happiness. Now, Oliver says it's difficult for me to change my negative beliefs. Yeah, it is difficult, but it's totally doable. And it's just a case of being aware of them when they come up and noticing maybe this isn't just a situation, maybe this is these negative belief patterns starting to sabotage me again. And that's when you're just going to do this little exercise I'll share with you, and then you can discover what the negative belief is and use your affirmation that you're going to create to reframe that belief and turn it around into a new belief that suits what your kind of goals and desires are. So we're basically lining up the head and the heart, the 80-20 of the iceberg that is your mind, and we are changing the stories that we've told ourselves in the past, and we're making the stories that we want our future to be like. And we do that through our affirmations. So, it's when your beliefs, it's when you can detach from your identity, essentially, and when you can detach from the power that these stories have over you, that's when you can change your beliefs. And it happens simultaneously. So it can be quite, again, it's a simple technique, but it can be quite difficult to do it consistently, because self-sabotage is, I'd say everyone suffers from self-sabotage really. And it can be quite insidious in the way that, as I said, your ego loves all the logical details, so it will give you all these logical reasons why you can't do such and such. So it can seem quite like a kind of logical reason, so you won't question it. But the trick is to just come into your emotions. We do the letting go technique first, just to get rid of the kind of the emotions as they come, and anything that's maybe repressed, we can use this next technique in order to reframe the negative beliefs and turn them into positive affirmations, so that we can then be more aligned with our goals. And you can let me know as well how you got on with the techniques from yesterday, and how you got on with using your affirmation and your little journaling exercise. If you want to give me some of your insight that you found from doing that, you can just leave a wee comment. So it seems really doable when we break it down into these nice logical steps, but it is really a case of just continuing and just keep practicing, and it will become second nature. And if you remember the video that I shared the other day, when I gave you the practical example of I had this big story and this big situation that happened, and then I just turned it around, created a little affirmation, and now I feel completely different about the situation. So it's just a case of being consistent with it. Just going to grab a quick drink of water, I'll let you all catch up, and then we'll go on to doing the exercise. Negative beliefs, Fee's gut instinct, is something I have a challenge in identifying. Yes, absolutely, 100%. I was the same. I've went through this as well. And it can be quite difficult to tell the difference. But it's just a case of, I like to look at it through the kind of chakra system, because that's where my experience came from when I finally managed to differentiate between the instincts and the just that little story that your ego tells you. So I like to use it through the chakra system. How to explain this? So your ego is important, but it can only serve you if it is basically working under your heart, and your kind of like heart center, your heart chakra up here. Your solar plexus, which is your ego, is underneath it, and that's the way that we have to get them working and them balancing together. So it just takes a little bit of practice, and you can do this through journaling and free writing. I always talk about journaling because it really helps me to kind of just assess what's going on in your head. Like when thoughts are up there, they're not very tangible, but when you write it down in the paper, and even sometimes it can be as simple as writing out the feelings that you have and the thoughts behind them, and just reading them back and looking at them, and then you can say, well, that's not true. Just having it on paper out in front of you can be enough in order for you to identify which is which. But journaling really helps to get right into it and to just pick out these little negative beliefs whenever we see them and keep us kind of in line with our heart. And our heart has got its own kind of frequency. I'll be telling you more about this tomorrow. Your heart is on, it's just like, what do you call it? It's like a wave. Those machines in ECG, those machines that you get in the hospital. So I saw something where it was just the results. They didn't do the live experiment, but there was a person who was linked up to an ECG on their heart and an EEG on their head. So that was measuring the brain waves, and it's like as we were talking about yesterday, I think it was, the vibration, and we talked about all the emotions having different vibrations going at different speeds, and the quality of their frequency. So the heart monitor and the brain monitor, when someone was feeling aligned and like their goals were achievable and that they were really fulfilling their purpose, the brain and the heart would go, so like your kind of heart's going up when your brain's coming down, so they're making this beautiful pattern. I'll try and find the source from this because it's really fascinating to see. So basically the brain and the heart are going together at the same speed and the same rhythm, and then this same person then felt anxiety and like they had to make a decision that they weren't ready to make, and the heart's going like this and the brain's going like this, and they're not in sync at all. When you see the printout of the waves of the brain and the heart, they're not in sync whatsoever. And I think that really sums up a lot of what we experience when we say, your head says yes but your heart says no, kind of thing. So it's quite good to be aware of what you feel in your heart, and you can do this easily enough with whatever you think your kind of negative belief is. Just place your hands, just place your hands across your heart, and you'll start to feel more connected to it with this. Your hands are the most kind of sensitive part of your body, like touch sensitive, so placing your hands on your heart, you do feel more connected to your heart center, and you can just tune into that feeling, and that will be able to tell you, just with practice. Meditating is good for that as well. Just kind of coming into your real kind of yes, your inner yes. It takes practice, but it's something that I struggled with too, but I no longer struggle with, so you'll get there. It's just kind of getting used to what really, really lights you up, and the more you kind of build your confidence and your own relationship with yourself, the easier it is. So it all comes, all these kind of things that you might be struggling with, as soon as you start loving yourself and really valuing yourself, it'll all come together, and you'll kind of see all these kind of like knowing what your heart's really saying, that'll come easier. Yes, it is. It's a great visual representation of what we've always known, because everyone says the head and the heart tend to want different things, but it's a very kind of visual representation of, oh, literally they're going in different wave patterns here, so amazing. Right, so I'm just going to start this exercise with you now. So you can do this later on if you're not prepared, or if you like, you can grab a piece of paper and a pen, and we'll go through creating our own affirmation. It's similar to the video that I shared, the first kind of journaling video that I shared a few weeks ago. So it's kind of more specific, and we're going to use this to make an affirmation that you're going to say to yourself about this kind of negative belief. And sometimes these negative beliefs can last for a few days, and sometimes as soon as you say the affirmation the first time, or even write it out, then it's pretty much gone. So just find the affirmation that is right for you with this particular situation, and you can keep applying this technique and using it whenever you need to kind of change or reframe a negative belief. So if you want to join in right now, that's fine. If you want to wait until later on, you can just listen and then actually do the exercise later on. That's fine as well. So we'll be closing our eyes just to do a little bit of tuning in, and so that we can find something that's going to give us an idea of what we want, so that we can find if there's maybe a negative belief stopping that from happening. So just allow your eyes to close, get nice and comfortable, and just keep your awareness down in this solar plexus area. So that's just underneath your rib cage, just where the ribs start to meet in the middle, just underneath that little hollow bit. So you can even place your hands there and just feel the sensations. I do Reiki and I can feel the Reiki coming through my hands. I must be needing something in my solar plexus. So again, just focus on your breath for a few moments and just draw your awareness down here. Breathe in nice and deeply into your solar plexus area. This is your willpower, your ego, and your identity. And now start to draw into your mind something that you want, and notice any other sensations that happen down here in the solar plexus area. And really think about what it is, this thing that you want, or you believe that you want, this thing that you believe will make your life better. This thing that you'd just be so happy and grateful for if it showed up right now. And try to make it something that maybe you've wanted for a while, but it's never really shown up. And now I would like you to ask yourself, why don't you deserve this? And just think about that for a moment. You can start to let your eyes open back up. And if you want to do the exercise now, you can take your pen, maybe write up at the top of the paper, why don't I deserve fill in the blank? Whatever it was you were thinking about, why don't you deserve it? And just start to write, just for a couple of minutes. Start to list a few reasons that maybe you believe it hasn't shown up because of timing, because any other kind of logical reason that might come up. And if it seems logical, don't trust it. Is basically the trick to finding those limiting beliefs. If it looks perfectly logical and reasonable, just keep writing. And what you're going to do is you're going to eventually find a sweeping general statement, which will be something like, things never work out for me, just as an example. Or it'll be something that relates to things that have happened in the past. And when you find this sweeping general statement that relates to stories from the past and how that's affecting things that you want right now, this is probably you getting to the bottom of your negative belief. So see if you can put that negative belief, this sweeping general statement about your life and why you don't deserve what you want, and then start to write that down into a nice sentence. And firstly, ask yourself if it's true. And ask yourself if it's really true or if it's just a feeling and just a thought that's come up. Things are true such as the sky is blue, water is wet. Otherwise, it's just an opinion. And even saying that, sometimes the sky isn't always blue. Water is always wet though. So that would be a fact. That would be a logical, reasonable fact. But your belief about why you can't have what you want is only an opinion, and it comes from a story that your identity's been telling you because it's something that it saw evidence of a while ago. But in order for you to get what you want, you have to see evidence of the opposite being true. And it's as possible as the first one being true. I mean, there's evidence for everything. As I said at the beginning, there is no good or bad, only thinking makes it so. So you're going to find that negative statement. That means you can't get what you want. And now, I'll get you to write it out in the opposite form. So, as I said earlier, things never work out for me. I would change that to things happen for me at the perfect time and when I'm ready for them. Just off the top of my head there. And then, once you've kind of turned that into its opposite, I'll get you to write it in the first person present tense. I am. Or I have. And this is the powerful statements that we call affirmations. So you're writing it out in the first person present tense. And for example, as I've been using before, the example of things never work out for me, I then changed that to things happen in the right time. I'm going to make the positive affirmation for this example: I am ready for things to work out for me. And that takes your power back. And it feels great once you kind of reframe it and turn it into something positive and empowering. So write out your affirmation, first person present tense, and you're going to repeat that affirmation, write it out on the paper at least 10 times. Now, something that I like to do is I've got a little A5 journal, I just fill a full page with it, at least one page. When I find a negative belief and I start to reframe it, I just write it out for one page. And usually by the end of that page it starts to feel pretty good. I just remind myself a few times during the day in my head. But if you need to work a little bit more on it, you can do more than one page, you can do it morning and night, you can do it 3 times a day, and just do it for as long as you need in order to start getting that evidence of this affirmation being true rather than the previous negative belief. And once you start getting the evidence back, that's when your belief has been basically reframed. So that's when your negative belief has turned into a positive one. So that story's kind of stopped affecting you in a negative way. So there we go. That's how we do this little exercise for creating your own affirmation in order to change your negative beliefs that might be limiting you. And remember that your beliefs take on the energy of fire, and it relates to your ego and your identity. So, detaching from the ego and the identity, that is how you recognise limiting beliefs, and you can change the story. And when we think about fire energy as well, we think of like a candle flame being focused, and it just is pretty concentrated. The light is concentrated and its purpose is concentrated, and it just burns down through the candle until there's none left, until its goal is achieved. So that's how we want our beliefs to be. We want to use the fire in order to focus on our desires and melt away any negative beliefs and then achieve the final goal. Great, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was, if you've done it just now, I hope you're feeling a little bit of relief. If not, you can look forward to that later on when you do it. So I'll now share with you the journal prompt that you're going to do for tonight or tomorrow morning. And I'd love for you to share your journal prompts from yesterday if you had any insights. I'd like to hear. So what you're going to write about tonight is, you're going to write in one colour of pen up at the top of the page, just the same as yesterday, what beliefs do I need to change in order to feel loved? And then you're going to set your timer on your phone, use a different colour pen if you like, and just free write out, try and answer that question and see what comes up. And then if you do see any beliefs in there that are stopping you from feeling loved, you can use this process, this little technique of creating the affirmation that we did today, and then you can turn that around to change the beliefs once you identify them, and then it's just basically plain sailing from there. So that's what you'll do for your journal prompt tonight. And your affirmation for today, for the next 24 hours, is, I am starting to believe that I deserve love. I am starting to believe that I deserve love. And we say, I am starting to, or I am open to believing, just to make it a little bit softer, because if it's something that you don't really feel, if it's an affirmation that you're not really connecting with, it's not going to have any impact on you. So by saying, I'm starting to believe that I deserve love, that means you're kind of just opening yourself up and you're starting to unravel a little bit, disassociate yourself from your past stories and from your ego and your identity, and it's just kind of opening you up a little bit more. Alright, so that's us for today. Hope that was fun for you, and I hope you find at least one negative belief and get to turn that around and use the affirmation. It's a great process. It does take some practice, but it's totally worth it when you do kind of start to use it. I use it almost naturally now, so with practice you'll be able to do that too. You'll be able to see these kind of negative beliefs come up and then just affirm it out there. Great. Excited for you. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, so again, I'll post the journaler prompt and your affirmation, your kind of general affirmation in the group again, and I will see you all tomorrow for the next one, which is we're going to be talking about compassion, and it's more of a kind of universal love, so it's like unconditional love, and how we can use this in our daily life just to kind of raise our vibration a bit more and to feel a bit better. And this is the number one way that you can use the law of attraction to, first of all, love yourself, and then break down the barriers to any relationship that you want to make better as well. So it's really exciting. I love this one as well, so can't wait to share it with you. And have a good evening, or a good day if you're just kind of earlier in the day than me. You're very welcome. Monji says very insightful lessons. Perfect. So I will see you tomorrow. Can't wait to hear how you get on. So have a good day. Take care.